Hi, Emma. My name is Noah. I'm going to be your counselor today. There's just a couple things I wanted to go over before we get started.
Okay.
So, everything we talk about is confidential, except three situations. So, the first one is if I suspect you're going to harm yourself or others, if I suspect any elderly or child abuse or neglect, and lastly, if I'm subpoenaed by a court. Do you have any questions about that?
No.
Okay,
I'm
great. So, how about you tell me a little bit about yourself and what brought you in today?
Okay. Well, I'm 26. I'm Emma. I just finished school. Now I'm in grad school, trying to, get my degree. And I'm also working full time, so that can be a little bit stressful. Um, yeah, I've been feeling kind of nervous about the end of everything that I've been working towards is coming up, and that's just kind of a lot to take right now. I can feel myself start to like push back and procrastinate a little bit, and I don't want to have everything that I've worked so hard for be like go down the tubes.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a lot going on in your life. So, you said you're in grad school, and what are you in grad school for?
Counseling.
Okay.
Actually, so yeah.
And how long have you been in that program for?
I've been in the program for 2.5 years.
Okay.
So yeah, it's getting close. Like I am now in my internship, it feels tangible. Like it's actually gonna happen.
And is internship the last kind of step before graduation?
Yeah, I have I think like 2 more classes that I have to finish up that are outside of internship.
Okay.
But yeah, then that's it, and I have my senior portfolio.
Wow.
And that's it. So it's crazy.
So it sounds like the end is near,
Yeah.
and that is kind of maybe giving you some anxiety.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel anxious about the end. Because it's not only is my school chapter closing, but now I have to go and look to see, I know there's still like supervision hours and everything like that, but it feels like it's kind of like the next thing. Like, oh, gotta find where I'm gonna go. And even though I'm pretty sure that the place that I'm interning right now, like my boss has mentioned to me that they would love to have me stay on, which would be awesome. Especially because they have the supervisory capacity. But yeah, it's still nervous. It still feels like I'm, gonna be out of a job and looking for a new job, and it can be a little bit stressful.
Well, that's wonderful news that your current spot has offered you a possible position.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not official, but the fact that that was even mentioned, I mean, I'm sure it isn't mentioned just out of the blue.
Totally. You definitely have to demonstrate those skills, and that's a huge step that they've possibly provided that position for you. But I'm still hearing, even though that's maybe a possibility, I'm still hearing a little bit of that anxiety about the new start. And could you tell me more kind of what makes you anxious about looking for a job after school?
Yeah. So like I've had a past in like my undergrad and even a little bit in the beginning of graduate school of kind of self-sabotaging. So there's just, even though I feel like I've worked through that for the most part, there still is that little residual fear that that's gonna come back up again, and again kind of take away from all the hard work that I've put in. And I'm just fearful because I don't want to do that, and I feel like I've come so much further than where I was, but it's always kind of in the back of my mind.
The self-sabotage, what does that look like to you or feel like to you?
So for me in undergrad, it was not handing in like written work, because I would like be very anxious about handing in work, and specifically that it had to be perfect. And so if it wasn't perfect, even if I had already written 3 or 4 pages of it, I would delete it.
Okay.
which obviously is sabotaging myself. And it really took a toll on me. I actually went and sought some help
Okay.
for some of those tendencies and came up with some new study strategies, new paper writing strategies, and I was able to turn it around for grad school. And then in grad school, the like little bit of self-sabotage that there was just, I guess it's not as much self-sabotage as it is self-doubt.
Okay.
Like, I went through a small period where I was like, is this for me? Am I going to be able to do this? I could barely get through undergrad unscathed. Like, how am I going to be able to get through not only all this schooling for graduate school, but also, then the supervision hours and I mean, and taking the exam and all of that. So just kind of having that self-doubt creep in, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, what a huge step for you to see that pattern in undergrad and seek help for that. Yeah. It sounds like it's made a really big impact in grad school and not as much self-sabotage going on. But now kind of it sounds like self-doubt is kind of in the forefront of your mind and what you're feeling. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's just I'm not used to things like going well for me, so there's that hesitancy of like, is this actually going to happen, or is it going to be the same story that it always is? But again, that's kind of like invalidating the hard work that I've put in. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like my experiences have made me I know I'm not a counselor yet, but have made me a better counselor candidate than if I didn't have them. And I know that like even in my current job and in my current internship, I am working with people and I am, helping people, maybe not as their counselor, but in a patient care format. So it's hard because I have all these things that are like I know rationally in my mind I make a good counselor, but then there's still those, like I said, self-doubts and that little bit of like, they're gonna figure out that you're not actually right for this or something like that.
So what I keep hearing is the word doubt. But what I also heard is that you are doing meaningful work within your current job that you think could help you become a counselor. Can you tell me a little more about your current job and some of the roles you play there?
Yeah. So I'm a residential care specialist at Rogers Behavioral Health. That also happens to be where I have my internship, which is not in the same programs. And I guess so there I work in a patient care capacity. So I work with residents, or if I'm an inpatient, then I work with patients that sometimes they're only there for a short time, but if it's residents, they're there for longer periods of time. And like helping them through their distress and helping them like by being a kind of intermediary between their therapist and them. So if their therapist can't talk to them but needs us to communicate something to them, like we do that. We serve as support for the residents essentially. So it can be really rewarding work, but it also is very challenging and can be emotionally very trying. So
definitely, it sounds like it takes a lot of strength and resiliency and patience to kind of have the job that you do.
Yeah, I guess it does. I always try to. There's actually something I learned in a previous therapy session, but it kind of stuck with me, and that was because I tend to view myself a lot harsher than other people. So my therapist at the time had said that it would be helpful to think of what would you tell a coworker that was in this situation. So when you said that about like the resiliency and stuff, like that's stuff that I've said to coworkers, that I've said to residents. So yeah, I guess I just got to start believing it myself. But
how does it feel if you were to say that to yourself?
It'd be uncomfortable. I feel like I'm already like getting flushed and squirmy wormy, but yeah, it's not something that I'm used to, so it would be pretty uncomfortable. But it's something that I know I need to do. So it's definitely an area that we can work on for sure. Hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. And when you say it's a little uncomfortable, and can you tell me a little more about that and kind of just explain to me how that makes you feel?
Yeah. So whenever I'm complimented or imagine myself giving myself a compliment, I get very like I said, like I get heated, like I get flushed, I get embarrassed, I have those negative thoughts going through my head that's like kind of downplaying whatever compliment it is, or is invalidating it even in sometimes. And so it's hard because it's like I don't want to believe it and then have it be like, just kidding, that's not actually how you are, and I can't believe you even believed that about yourself, that type of thing. So that's kind of where that discomfort comes from, and like feeling uncomfortable is feeling like I don't know, like I don't necessarily deserve the compliment. And if I say that I do, then that, I don't know, that just feels very foreign to me.
And do you think these feelings, has this been kind of how you felt? How long have you felt this way of just like not feeling comfortable and kind of the compliments is kind of a difficult part?
Yeah. Honestly, I know it's cliche, but like all my life, I definitely growing up like had some self-esteem issues. I was bullied. I mean, not like, really, really bad bullying, but it has an impact. And I was always doing stuff with my family. And so then since I was doing stuff with my family, I wasn't doing as much stuff with friends, so I wasn't putting myself out there with friends, which then made me kind of like the weird kid who didn't go to all the different things that everybody else did. And then in high school, I was really dedicated to my sport. I played volleyball. And while I've learned so much from playing volleyball, and honestly think that it improved me as a person, and I've grown a lot, I think as far as socially, it didn't help me. Even though I like bonded with teammates and stuff like that, like none of the teammates went to school with me. Nobody lived by me either. So it wasn't like we would have practice and then hang out on the weekend. It was like, I don't know, it was kind of like I would be there with them at practice, we'd get along, we'd go to tournaments and have a really fun time, and it would seem like we would be friends outside of it too, but then that kind of put me behind the 8 ball at school.
So what I heard in the beginning was you mentioned, okay, it was bullying, but not really bullying. And what it sounds like is, even though, you made that statement, these experiences still seemed hurtful, and it's still valid that you kind of felt that isolation and that hurt.
Yeah, I guess. I try not to, I guess I do this a lot, but I try to minimize things. because I know that other people go through worse. And so it's hard to when I say that it's bullying, but not really bullying.
Mhm.
Like I know people are bullied in way worse ways. And I guess I just feel like I need to say that in order to so that people understand that I know that I don't have it as bad as others, but I still feel the way I feel. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely, yeah, it's hard because I mean, you can hear it, I'm sure. I minimize, I downplay, I do all that jazz. And I know that I'm doing it. I need to learn how to, now that I can recognize it, I need to learn how to stop before I do it.
I mean, the fact that you're able to kind of recognize some of the patterns that you have is a great starting point. And I'm hearing a lot of, okay, minimizing or comparing to other people's situations. And I think that's something that it seems like you're passionate about, kind of focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. Yeah, that's definitely an area that I want to work on. Just because like that plays into my self-esteem, and I know that self-esteem is like a way bigger thing, but I feel like it's manageable to tackle that part of like what's affecting my self-esteem. So yeah, I would love to work on that, definitely.
Yeah, so I feel like a great starting point. So we, kind of started off the session talking about your job and you're a student and you're nearing the end of graduation and there's some feelings of anxiety there. And some of that anxiety also includes maybe comparison or just kind of minimizing some of the feelings that go along with self-esteem.
Yeah.
So I think for the next couple of weeks, I would, if you're comfortable, kind of tackle those different points and kind of understand how we can make you feel more comfortable and feel more confident. So at the end of graduation, you really feel secure and confident about taking those next steps.
That sounds great.
All right.
Thank you.
Great.